Welcome to the Startup Grind.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Startup Grind. So let me just give you a quick brief on what Startup Grind is all about. Startup Grind is a monthly session that we host here at SaveCo, and we interview various entrepreneurs in various stages of their life cycle. And we basically want to learn from their success stories, from how they built their brands, and even from the failures. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce both our guests today. We have Fahad Al Mutawa here. He is the ex-chairman and CEO of MS Retail, which is the company behind the brand Baroue. So today we're going to know about how they built the brand, how they took it from zero to hero. And on my left here, I have Noor AlQatami. She is the CEO of SaveCo. Everyone here knows SaveCo. Everyone has been to SaveCo. So we're going to know the same things about how she built the brand from zero to hero. And how about we start off by just saying that many of our community members want to make the transition from employee to entrepreneur, basically from being an employee to an employer. And so to start off with, can you tell us a bit more about your career path before starting SaveCo? And have you always been an entrepreneur?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. No, actually I haven't been an entrepreneur always. I've failed numerous times before. I've started a company in the US with the previous owner of Victoria's Secret and the limited companies, and the franchise king, George Nada, which failed. And then we started another company where we took Prep Cosmetic, a really famous store in the US, and we started copying them around the States. Failed miserably. I came back to Kuwait, worked in my father's steel company, had an excellent salary, and my job was just to sign papers after my dad, until I felt brain dead, decided I had to do something about it. So I saw that there was something in the market missing, which is something I used to like doing in the US, going to grocery stores that are well merchandised, very clean, and the idea of SaveCo popped up.
That's amazing. Maybe we can now know the other side of the story in regards to Baroue, and what happened before Baroue. How did you get to start Baroue?
Thank you for inviting me to you today. Before Baroue, I had another company which I set up, which was in food and beverage, which was a franchise called Wisho in Kuwait. That was not successful as well. We were able to manage to change that into a local brand called Qatar, which is a Lebanese restaurant that has been operating for the last 2 years now and has been successful. But we obviously started off as a failure when we franchised out the brand. While doing that, I had, back then my daughter was about 1 year old, and she always insisted on going to Suchar. And the reason it was Suchar rather than any other place back then was due to the water fountain outside. So the idea was also, because it was a hassle buying things for her, and going from one store to the next, not finding everything at one location. And the idea that she kept on taking me to the exact same place because she found something that was interesting for her and she enjoyed it. So the idea was to create a store that had everything for kids, but also an attraction within it that would make the kids want to go there, therefore taking that footfall and changing it into a business transaction. So that's the idea of the concept of Baroue. It started with a need that I had, and understanding what my daughter forced me to do, as I'm sure everybody that has kids here knows exactly what I'm talking about. And that's how the Baroue brand got conceptualized. That was the idea.
So we can see that there's a commonality here, that both of them have a pain point or a proof of concept where they started their business, where they took off and launched. One here being finding a hard time getting something for his daughter, so he started Baroue. And one being here that everyone loves to shop. It's a pain point that everyone wants to have to do, so it's a commonality that people share. But now let's look towards the business model. And with regards to you guys both chose to build your own brands as opposed to getting a franchise. So what, in your opinions, are the pros and cons of bringing a franchise versus creating your own brand? Start off with
Initially, the first thing I wanted to do was to bring a franchise. Back then it was Babies R Us. Babies R Us was a concept already proven in the US. It's owned by Toys R Us. Toys R Us wasn't open in Kuwait back then. I sent them an email, I tried to contact them, they sent back an email telling us that they had no interest in opening up Babies R Us and that they had them as part of Toys R Us. So that was the first attempt, was to get a franchise. Then when that didn't succeed, my mind was set in trying to develop something that we shouldn't stop because we weren't able to get a franchise. We had the capabilities and the mindset to actually build our own business and our own ideas. So that's how it became, rather than a franchise, something a bit more complex than that. The pros and cons, it's a very important point. The pros of a franchise is that the learning curve is so much smaller. Because when a franchise, you take something that somebody has already proven, tested, and they're giving you the manual how to operate, which makes life so much easier, makes your mistakes so much less expensive, and it either works or it doesn't. But when you do it yourself, that's the downside of building your own brand, because the learning curve is very steep, mistakes are extremely expensive, and you will not learn until you make that mistake. So you keep on making mistakes until you get the formula right. So that's a big difference between the franchise, from my perspective, and operating your own retail concept.
Let's look at the other side of the equation right now in regards to SaveCo. What got you into a market that already has an influx of supermarkets in regards to the traditional co-ops that they have in every block, or like a Sultan Center or things like that, so they're already established. So what had you choose between a establishment that you establish or a franchise?
Well, they always tell you not to reinvent the wheel. So by reinventing the wheel, you're doing your own thing rather than franchising. But I chose to reinvent the wheel myself because I saw that there were so many things in grocery stores that were missing. And there's many aspects in different places, like Whole Foods. I like the natural aspect of it, the organic sections, the gluten-free sections. I liked Waitrose for the way they shelved items and the merchandise. I liked Costco for its wide aisles. So it was either that I took one of them, and there are things that I liked and hated about them, or I took the best out of each one and put it into my own concept, which is what I did. But as we said before, you pay a lot of money for things that you don't learn. I mean, we lost a lot of money doing things over and over and over until we learned what the right way of doing things is. One of the basic things is building an ERP system. You can either take one that is, you pay, of course, 80,000 KD, for instance, for a Microsoft Dynamics ERP system, or you can build your own for a few thousand. Because when you build your own, which is what we did initially, you realize that it's missing so many different aspects that you need to build. Whereas if you just get one like Microsoft Dynamics, everything's already there. You just need to tweak it for your own benefit.
Alright, maybe we can move with regards to the same concept here. Right now you guys chose the path of establishing your own firms. Now how did you learn about the field you entered? Like, I'm assuming you weren't a toy manufacturer or a toy maker, but how did you learn about that industry and about the marketing of it and about the process management of all of that?
One of the things we had to do initially when we started this was a lot of trips and a lot of investigative work from a financial perspective. As you know, the first thing you do is a financial feasibility study, best way to do that is to understand what the product is, what the cost is, logistics cost, any kind of costs associated with setting this up. So one of the first things we did, we went to the Hong Kong Toy Fair, fashion fairs in Europe and China, visited manufacturers around the world, whether it's in India, Thailand, China. We actually went and we had to see all the manufacturing, study everything, understand how it is. Because when you're building a brand, you're not only building a brand, but you're building a fashion line that comes with it, so it gets a bit more complex. So we had to take all that information and build it into the feasibility study to see whether this is worthwhile or not. But at the same time, we had to hire a group of international consultants that have the expertise to actually assist us. Because none of us had, it wasn't a small store. The concept was large. Start off with a store in the avenues of about 6,500 square meters. So we had a team of consultants out of London, we had a team of designers out of New York. So we had a big team to assist us out of their experience and their background. They tried to assist us in getting the right financial formula in place. But having said that, any feasibility study you do will be put to the test the minute you open. And then when the numbers don't add up, you need to keep on reworking until something happens. Consultants are great in giving you a concept, sharing with you ideas. But the reality is what they put on paper doesn't always translate into reality. So that was one of the issues that we had as well.
And what's your opinion on that matter?
For me, mainly, you're gonna laugh, but mainly I had a Pinterest account and I had Dropbox. And everywhere I went, whether it's in the US or London or anywhere else, I'd take pictures of grocery stores, I'd take pictures of convenience stores, I'd take pictures of items, like let's say milk or chocolates, and I'd collect them in different boxes on Pinterest or on Dropbox where I have chocolates, biscuits. And it got out of hand where I had 3 Dropbox accounts because they were already full and my iCloud account was full. But when we came to order the items, I knew exactly what I wanted to order. It's just a matter of communicating with the suppliers or a consolidator and shooting them pictures of the Dropbox. But for the design of the actual store, I knew what I wanted to do from the beginning. I knew the design that I had in mind. And I was lucky enough to find the team to back me up on everything. Obviously, one person cannot know everything. You need the right people with the right expertise that know about their job more than you would to help you. And that's how we founded SaveCo.
So I can see that you took the traditional approach towards learning by industry, and this is a much more unique approach towards that. But there are commonalities here where you must have read books that taught you something about industry or about the process management of such a business. So are there any influences that you have read or maybe an idea that you adopt you can share with the audience?
To be honest, I'm not a big fan of reading, so I didn't read books, unfortunately. But I had my mindset. I understood what I wanted, and I knew where to go for help because, as Noor just said, nobody knows it. That's a very important.
Is there any business model that you adopted, like for example, Hamley in London or Toys R Us?
It's a combination. If you look at our store, it's a combination of many different things because we have the fashion from one side and we have the toy section from the other. But you also have the entertainment as a third factor built in. And even if you look at our financials, we treat them as 3 separate businesses all under one roof. So it's a combination of the 3. It's a combination of Hamleys / Babies R Us because we have a lot of hard goods as well. And the entertainment factor. And the entertainment is not the traditional kind because it wasn't just arcades. The Sea Serpent, or what we call the Sea Serpent, which is the main playground in the middle of the Avenue store, and it's the main part of all the stores. It is what the concept is built around. It's the attraction for the children. As long as kids come in with their parents, we try to turn footfall into transactions. That's the main purpose of that. But unfortunately, I don't really understand.
Alright, then maybe we can move towards the business itself. So initially you told us that you did hire consultants to help you out with feasibility study and the process of it all. Did you have initial doubts, and how did you rectify those doubts, and how did you manage them?
Initially, we didn't have doubts of what the consultants had to say. We trusted that it was a big project that had many different aspects of it. But one of the main issues that we faced, which learning curve was cheap and expensive on the logistics. Logistics is a nightmare. It only runs on this for you. At least for us, it doesn't have any expiry dates. But logistics is very important. The problem with logistics is, and we still continue to learn this part. If the product isn't on the shelf, then you're losing transactions, you're losing sales. If the product is late into coming and you're not replenished in a proper manner, you also lose. So it's not a matter of not having the product in the store. It's not in the store being sold. It's in your warehouse costing you money. And that's a problem we had, and it took us over 2 years and we still have some problems, but it took us a long time to rectify that out. So that was a big, big challenge for us. But if I look at what the consultants have done and how the store is operating today, you can just throw all that away. The consultant's job was a good job, they did a great job, they cost us a fortune, but if we take what they've done and the numbers they have put in place and the ideas they actually gave us, nothing is worth it. It wasn't worth it. It was just expensive, but we had to do it at that stage. The learning curve that we have today, the experience we built over the past 9 years, tells us that everything that consultant told us day one was unrealistic. But we had to adapt. We had to change the business model. We changed our logistics structure. We changed our buying structure. We changed every single thing to meet what the business actually was. So that's the expensive learning curve, and that's where a franchise would have been much more helpful rather than trial and error. So at the same time, we learned and we grew from there.
That's running a business further. With regards to you, any influences with regards to books or online resources or even business models that you adopted towards the process management of your business and daily operations?
I'd say our customers are our main data bank, because what happened was initially the idea of SaveCo was to have the Duluka type of supermarket, but at a really reasonable price. But our customers kept pushing us towards the diet section, towards the organic section, towards the gluten-free, to the point where we couldn't fight anymore. So we had to adapt, we had to change. We would listen a lot to our customers. For instance, if any one of you goes to our Instagram account or any social network, you send a picture in or anything, in a few weeks you'd see the item on the shelf. If anyone tells us the product is more expensive here than Sultan, we'd actually send out our sales tax to check the prices, if it was or it wasn't. Sometimes it would be more expensive, but the reason would be, for instance, the expiry date there is close to expire. There's 1 week left, and you cannot just go below cost just because your competitor has a lower price. But adapting the store in itself is a learning curve, as you said before. It's what the customer wants. It's not what you want. You have an idea in your mind, but in the end, you want to get footfall. You want to get you want to make that transaction, sell more for the people, and you would have to see what they want. You'd have to listen.
It's interesting. So what I understand is your customer is always right. So they always take what the customer hasn't had. So with regards to adding new attachments to your business model, like for example, you host cooking classes in SaveCo. So how did you add that to your business model? Did you first ask around, do questionnaires, or did you just add it because you know your customers want it?
No, I added it because I like cooking. I like food. But initially the idea of it was, let's say if someone likes Nutella and they wanted to, sorry, wrong. I know our customers don't like Nutella. Let's say if someone liked organic chicken and they wanted to know how to cook it in a proper manner, we'd have a chef come in who specialized in cooking organic food and teach our customers how to use the recipes and do different tweaks with special products that our suppliers would want to be used. And the idea was it would be live shows while you're shopping, and we found that this is what the customer wants. When they're shopping, they would just stop and look in, see what's going on there. And then the next thing you know, they sign up for the next class.
So the marketing you do for these kind of programs are like organic from the customers that we're in. Interesting. And maybe another question, maybe move on to the corporate culture and the operations of it all. What do you look for in the staff you hire? From operations and accounting and finance down to people who stock your stocks.
You said something a few minutes ago. You said customer is the number one thing. For us, it doesn't work that way. For us, the employee is our number one thing because your human resources or your manpower is the most important thing, because if you don't invest in the people who are interacting with your customers, you wouldn't know what this person would say. But if that person was happy, then the customer in return would be happy, because they would feel that this is their place. As an example, we had an employee who passed away, unfortunately, a few weeks back. He didn't pass away during work time. It was when he was in his own apartment. We took the extra mile to have our COO take him to Philippines for the burial. We paid for the burial. We paid his salary to his wife. And we told her that we'll pay the tuition until the kids graduate from university, because we're sure that's what the employee would want. And that shows company loyalty towards its employees. And you see them giving back when you come into the store. If you walk across the store, you'd see the employees smiling for the customers. You'd see them, interacting more with the customers. Whereas if you go to the co-op, for instance, you ask a question and you'd be like, ask someone else. Where in SaveCo, no, they have to take you to the product that you want, to the place that you want. And the second comes the customer, and then the third is the shareholder.
So actually that brings me to the next question, which you already answered, which is basically how you keep your employees happy and engaged, which eventually ends up in the customer being happy and engaged. Let's move on to Baroue. The same question had the staff you hire, how you engage them and keep them happy.
So, staff is, as just mentioned, is the number one aspect of any customer-facing environment. If the employees are happy, the customers are happy. Customers are important, staff is important. But when we started the hiring process, we insisted on all employees to be university educated. So we weren't looking for the lowest possible employee wages. So we actually paid a lot more market 9 years ago. So we had certain criteria. The reason for that was pretty much to make sure that they understand how business works, how it operates, and that the idea is not to, yes, any business, the idea is the bottom line, you want to make a profit. But at the same time, you will not be able to make a profit if the employee are not happy or not comfortable. So employees are very important, but that's when it comes to the basic employees. But with management, it's a bit different. Management, we've interviewed, I can't even remember how many people for different managerial positions. Whether it was the head of logistics, buying and merchandising, or operations, HR. And the one thing I learned is that all interviews are worthless. And it's the first 3 months that actually count. The interview is just about, can you talk to this person on a daily basis? But it does not tell you if you do the job or not. And we've hired so many different people for different roles until we actually got that formula correct. So in management, we changed the management entirely within the first 2 years, from the beginning of opening till 2 years later, because that was part of the learning curve as well. As we understood the business more, we started to understand what these employees were doing. But with the staff in the store, they are key to the customer's satisfaction of the store. And like any other retail store, the most important thing is turning footfall into a purchase. It's the only thing that pays the rent and the staff employees' salary in the end. So it's very crucial that employees are happy and are in a very good work.
I guess another question that I'm personally interested in knowing, and everyone here is too, is developing the brand itself. Since you started off with a brand that no one knows, how did you build that brand and make sure that everyone knows about it? Right now, if you say Baroue, people know it because everyone passes by the avenues and everyone knows what it stands for. So how did you eventually start it off?
Well, when we started, we had 3 major things while we were developing the brand. So one was developing the brand itself. The other was building the business that's going to support this brand, which is the merchandising, making sure the store operates. So one thing is to build the store, the other thing is to make sure it has all the stock and the products involved. And the third thing was the marketing and PR along the launch of Baroue. And initially we had invested very heavily in the marketing and the brand. We had a big budget. We invested a lot pre-launch and after the launch. And I I believe we were successful in making sure that the brand got recognized within the first few months of opening the store. We had limited competition back then. Not that we don't have competition, but limited competition, and we had the advantage of a very good location with the avenues. So the footfall traffic was good, but we invested a lot in the newspapers, TV commercials, radio, so we did a lot of investing, and it was very important to own the brand and send the business into that direction.
Can you talk to us about the commercial where we had that people had mixed feelings about, and tell us what impacts did that commercial have on Baroue? Maybe give the audience a bit of a background on that commercial.
The commercial was developed through a very good firm called Qatami. They had an office here in Kuwait, so they did a very good job in the marketing of the firm. And the commercial was done through the company labels. I do not recall it. Now, from our perspective, or from my personal perspective, I thought the commercial was a success because the footfall that came into the store within the first week was over 40,000 people. And the following week continued to grow, so on and so forth, until we started reaching 70 to 80,000 people per week. So, is it just because we were in the avenues? Maybe, but I think the combination of the avenues plus that marketing and plus the turnover of these 80,000 people walking into the store and making purchases suggests that it was a very strong and a very successful ad campaign. Now regarding the negativity about the campaign, the numbers suggest otherwise.
What was the reason behind the negativity?
I don't even know. The first time I heard about the negativity was from you. I don't go reading blogs and searching for negativity, to be honest. Listen, there is negativity. One thing you need to understand that you cannot always please everybody. As long as your customers are happy and the business is coming in, money flow is coming in, you're doing something right. But if everything's going the other direction, then you need to go and see, why isn't anybody coming to the store? Why did the commercial not work? Why did they hate the ad? What did we do wrong? But to be honest, I've never heard of that.
That's no problem. Maybe we can go to Noor and congratulate her on winning first place in the supermarkets category of service here. Give her a round of applause. Maybe you can talk to us more about how you approach customer service and what you believe are the most important elements of a positive customer experience.
First, we believe we're a very Kuwaiti brand. So everything we did about the brand, we made it very Kuwaiti. Even when we answer our customers back on Instagram or social media or anything, we answer them back as Kuwaitis. So it has to be in the Kuwaiti dialect. We don't answer in the Arabic dialect, which a lot of people do, or in the Egyptian dialect. We answer in the Kuwaiti dialect. And we talk the same way. For instance, in Kuwait, there are certain things you say, or certain, let's say if something happens, there's an answer for everything. We try to do the same thing. And in Ramadan, before Ramadan, for instance, Kuwaitis like to go buy their pans, they like to go buy certain things. We try to make that big, everything Kuwait. So for customers, we think of every single Kuwaiti holiday, every single Kuwaiti celebration, even the ones that people don't actually make a big deal about. And we show it within our stores. And if the customer comes in and let's say complains, and usually Kuwaiti customers complain, and if they complain about anything, let's say one of the customers came in complaining that the aisles were too tight, which I don't understand, but I told her it's okay. How would you suggest we change the aisles? Because we can always learn from the customer's perspective. She told me maybe instead of making them this way, when you go into the store, they should be lengthwise. So I said, okay, let's try drawing it out on a paper and we'll show you how it looks like. We actually went and did a 3D mock-up and she said, no, you guys can't do it this way because the customer would be walking and there's no break. And we take it to the extra level with every customer, even though we know they're wrong. But if you show the customer that you care about what they said and take the extra step into showing them that your comment matters, and we actually researched it, or we fired the person who was really rude to you, or we wouldn't go to that extent, we would actually put them into a process, but the customer would appreciate it.
As Fahad here talked about TV commercials and newspapers about getting out the brand, what are the most effective marketing techniques that you use for SaveCo, and how do you measure the effectiveness of those techniques in regards to KPIs and
Social media. Instagram, to be specific, that was our biggest thing. We didn't hire any bloggers. We didn't actually spend a lot of money on marketing. I spent a lot of time on marketing because I was doing the marketing myself. I was doing the Instagram and social media. So I'd be spending most of my time, even when we were on holiday, on social media, answering every customer's question. And the reason why I did that is because if you put someone to take care of your social media or PR or marketing, there's always going to be a barrier to you and your customer. Obviously, I cannot keep on going that way, but at the beginning, you need to know what the customer has as an opinion, or what they think of the store, what can be changed. And if the turnover from idea of the customer to actual implementation is fast, you will see customer loyalty, which is what happened with us. We got immediate customer loyalty, and we became a household name. So where people actually thought we were crazy for starting a company and competing against international giants like Sultan, or Carrefour, or Giant, or any of the other stores.
Okay, then if I may ask you, what are the 3 core KPIs that you look at in regards to success of your business, or success of a product, or a new project that you have in SaveCo?
Okay, we'd see first sales.
Okay.
Obviously, that's the biggest indicator, how much you sell. And after we sell, see, it's not the first sales that matters. It's how much you sell in the long run. As an example, we had a hot sauce, I think it's called Fun something. It's a red bottle with a green top. And it's from the US. What's it called? Yeah, but the brand, you know it? Sriracha sauce. Yeah, that's the one.
Thai ratings on it or something.
Yes, yes. So when we first got it in, I was pushing the buyer to bring in as much quantity as possible, and the buyer was afraid because it was the first time she brings it into the market. So I told her, if no one buys it, I'm going to buy it myself. Just bring it in. She said, what's the quantity you want? I said 200 boxes, just randomly, because we didn't know what the market was. We ordered it within 1 hour, we sold out, 200 boxes. We ordered another 500 boxes for the next week because we get weekly shipments, and we didn't sell as fast. So it's not, one of the indicators, not just sales at that certain point. You have to see it on an average, how much it's going to be. The second indicator, I'd say, would be employee retention. Because it matters how big of a turnover your employees is. You know, you can't keep teaching people again and again and again to get them up to the standard that you want. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of time. You're taking people out of their work time just to teach other people. So, alhamdulillah, our employee retention is very high. And the third would be, my dad would say how fast you expand, or how many stores you open, how fast. But I disagree, because if you expand really fast, you may just break what you did. You know, it takes a lot of cash flow to expand. We're opening 2 stores this year within the next 2 months.
As big as SaveCo in
One is bigger, one is smaller.
an express concept, for example.
Not express necessarily, this is smaller.
Right. And with regards to you, Fahad, with Baroue, you talked something about the footprint, the foot traffic.
Footfall conversion.
Yes.
So to us, that's one of the main sales. It all comes back to sales in the end. Footfall conversion is very important. So it's how many people walk in, and how many of these people that walk in, how many people will be able to turn into an actual transaction.
How do you keep track of that?
We have footfall counters as you walk in. So both entrances, specifically in the avenues. So that's how we know how many people walked in when we open. Every time we put an ad, how many people walked in, how many people during the day, morning hours, afternoon, evening, how many people on the weekends, public holidays. So we have an exact count. And based on these counts, we know how busy the store is going to be. We can predict what's going to happen. So the conversion is extremely important, because if, for example, 1,000 people walk in, but 100 people bought, that means we got 10%. That means that either something wrong with the product, we're unable to attract to to the customer base that's coming in, we don't have the right product for them. So it tells you there's something wrong. So it's very important for us to understand that. Sales is extremely important as an indicator. And as Noor said, the staff is also a very important factor. But also, we have KPIs per department. So even when you look at fashion, we need to understand, for example, girls fashion versus boys fashion, or baby versus toddlers versus 8 to 13. So it varies from place to place. So we know, for example, that baby's always done very well. Girls are always better than boys when it comes to fashion. And in the toys department, boys' toys are always more than girls' toys. So it varies in these sequences. Of course, the major, certain KPIs are each division within the store, even under fashion, has KPIs. Same thing with the toys and also with the entertainment. So it just tells you whether you're doing something right or you're doing it wrong. So it gives you the bottom line.
Keep track of your growth and to plan the future ahead. Speaking of the future, with regards to the e-commerce platforms right now available, you can see people they prefer to order things online like Qatami or on Shein.com or any of these e-commerce platforms. With regards to Baroue, is there any?
We're behind the market in these platforms, but I'm sure the guys do see the need to actually move towards that moving forward. But 9 years ago when we started, these social medias, the Twitters, the Instagrams, all these social media things were not available to us. So that's why we used pretty much back then the basic commercials and the ads and that we did. But today we shouldn't have the excuse. I think we're falling behind on these elements and as well on the sales, the online sales, which is potentially a very big market, which we haven't got the right platform to get into.
What about you, Noor, with regards to SaveCo? How about there are business models abroad where the person can actually browse inside the supermarket virtually and buy things on store, or have just a platform like Qatami, for example, to have mobile ordering for your groceries. What addition do you see for SaveCo to have in that realm?
Well, we have most of the ones you mentioned, but just so you know, when it comes to groceries, even when it comes to groceries like Tesco or Whole Foods, which has a company that's working with them, Instagram, I think, where I forgot the name of Instacart, where they deliver for them. For a supermarket business, it's a loss. Whenever you're online, it's a loss because you're paying for the delivery. And even if you charge for a delivery, let's say in Kuwait they charge usually 2 to 3 kb, you're losing on the employees' time, you're losing on the ERP system, you're losing on so many different aspects. But for the biggest loss is when you have someone come into the supermarket, they don't buy what's on the list. That's maybe the main bulk of what they buy, is they buy everything else. You have the impulse buys at the counters, you have the end caps. While they walk around the store, they see certain items, they stop, they put them on the in the basket. You have the testers, they taste an item, they like it, they put it in the basket. So in all cases, it's a loss for supermarkets. But you have to have it just because other people have it. And we have an online. The original idea of SaveCo was to be an online supermarket. It took me so long to build it, and I spent a lot of money not going anywhere. Again, learning from mistakes, just because building an online store takes so much longer than you think with the proper ERP.
Because the convenience factor is something people like. Right now, I don't know if you know about this, but Amazon has a dash button where you can subscribe to things like Tide or Omo, and you can have it on your fridge, and it's connected by a low energy Bluetooth. And you just press on the button, and it gets delivered to your house for staple items like Omo or soaps or anything that you would do directly. So it is a market that's valid, but again, as you said, supermarket-wise, it's a loss in various aspects. Let's go now to macro scale in Kuwait. What are you most optimistic about in Kuwait's economic climate, and what do you believe needs to be urgently addressed in regards to pitfalls in the government or in regards to tarkhis, not tarkhis?
It took me 2 years to open. يعني this subject, it means a lot to me because it took me 2 years to open SaveCo, paying a rent of 1,200,000 per year and paying employees' salaries. And it was, we were bleeding cash throughout the whole time. And the reason for it was bureaucracy. You'd go to someone, they'd ask you to go to someone else to get a paper signed. They'd sign it off and they'd say, okay, you're done with the Baladia. We go to Canada and they'd say, no, you're not done. You forgot this person's signature. We'd go back, get his signature. They said, no, he's out of the show right now. So, I mean, if they have a real online e-government where you can go in, you can, let's say, get your license done in 1 day, get your paperwork done in 1 day, and have your employees registered. It doesn't make sense to me where you have, let's say, employees registered based on the amount of space you have in a store. Because sometimes, even if the store is little, you may need a lot of employees. Starbucks, for instance, at high turnover time, you see it packed inside because you need as many employees to address the customers coming in. So, I mean, these aspects play a big role in you not going bankrupt before you succeed.
So I understand something that needs to be addressed is the expediting the process, having everything available.
There's no
making sure everyone knows
explanation
about
right
those
now
things.
because you're in airplane mode.
Fahad here has a background with regards to legal aspects. He is also a member of the Islamic law firm, and he works in the International Disputes Department. Correct. So maybe from your background, you can give us a bit of, shed some light on any problems that you see that need to be addressed urgently in the region for entrepreneurs and startups.
Exactly what Noor said, times 10. The bureaucracy is incredible. Whatever it is, بلدية شؤون everything to do with getting the license to open up the store is an investment on its own. Knowing the people, so it's not a systematic pattern. It's not something that's easily done. It's a nightmare. I remember it like it was yesterday. We got delayed 3 months and paid revenue rents, avenues rent for 3 months without opening up the store. That's still painful. It was something that should take a couple of days to do. So it's a very painful process, and these things need to be addressed. But people have been talking about them for years. You hear about Kuwait asking for foreign investors to come into Kuwait with this Qatami initiative, which is great. But you're asking, the local companies can't even get licenses and operate. How are you going to attract international investors to actually come and operate? So it is an issue that needs to be addressed. I don't have the solution, but it's not my job to find the solution. But it is an issue, and it needs to be addressed for all businesses. And it's just ridiculous.
Then we don't need to find a solution right now, but part of finding the solution is actually pinpointing the problem, so at least we can address those
We've been
problems.
pinpointing them for years.
We're about to finish here, but maybe we can end by you giving us some of the skills that you believe an entrepreneur needs to have to be successful, like patience, for example.
Determination. That's the most important skill. Setting your eyes on something and doing everything you can to get to it. It's a long journey, it's a difficult journey, it's also an enjoyable journey. But you need to want it, and you need to believe that you can get there and do everything you can to get to that achievement. And if you fail, you learn from your mistake and you move on. And if you fail in the business, you let it go and you move on. It's not your child. It's okay. If you fail, you move on. عادي. المهم ان الواحد يتعلم من الخطأ. As long as you learn from your mistakes and you move on, you actually, it's like having another degree. What you learn in starting your own business and failing is more important than going to university because they cannot teach you that at school. Failure is a very important part of success. And you will fail and fail and fail, and then eventually you will succeed. As long as you learn from these mistakes. And not be ashamed to admit you made a mistake. And to always acknowledge when you made a mistake and get the right help to get you through this process. But failing is part of succeeding. And you either accept it or you learn that the hard way, but this is a fact.
There's a will, there's a way. I truly believe in this. It's not going to be easy. It's never easy. Doing business is never easy. Unlike you, I truly believe in SaveCo is my baby, so I would do what it takes to make it grow. And it took me 2 years of thinking, what am I doing? I had an amazing job with an amazing salary. I would just sign papers for 10 minutes, and then the avenues was right in front of me. I would go, have coffee, call my friends in, and that would be my day. And hey, no, I don't even have time to rest. I'm on my phone 24 hours, answering emails. It's more fun. You have more self-satisfaction. You actually accomplish something. That's the difference. And failure is a lesson. It's not something bad. It's a lesson that you learn from. There's a song that I used to hear in the US. If at first you don't succeed, dust it off and try it again. And you should try it again. It takes a lot of effort, but it's a fun ride. It's difficult, but it's a fun ride. You see your baby grow, and when everyone knows it, you can't help but feel pride.
Thank you very much, and I'd like to now ask anyone here to ask the questions you have in mind. So, anyone would like to start off?
I have a question for Noor. What was the hardest part about running your supermarket?
I'd say opening the store, because you had to design it. You had to learn about different things. For instance, the laws in Kuwait for importing products, food products specifically, are extremely difficult. We're the worst when it comes to the GCC. So it's a continuous learning curve. You have to learn about what products you're allowed to bring in, you're not. And then when it arrived in the first year, we imported products, we had 80 penalties. Second year, 4. And this year, alhamdulillah, we're down to nearly nothing. But you learn that you're not allowed to get in products that say wine on it, even though that the item is not wine, but it's a certain ingredient.
Another question. How did you handle your pricing strategy? Did you outsource or did you work on it yourself? Or how do you
We have price caps. So people that go around and check the price in all the supermarkets and our competitors' stores, and we get it on a daily basis.
Someone?
I have a question for Mr. Mutawa. So, how would you go about sourcing for talent in terms of employees, and what was surprised you in terms of hiring, firing, and just basically getting the most out of the employees?
The sales team, we actually went to the Philippines. I went there myself, and I met this recruitment agency, and we actually opened up a training school in the Philippines for our staff before arriving. We had approximately 300 or 280 employees, so we couldn't take the risk of bringing them over and then finding out that they were not capable. So we actually rented out a space for 6 months. We had people there, trained them for 6 months, so when they came to the store, whoever met the training criteria came to the store ready to operate. So we never hired locally at the first stage, at the early stages. But for management, that was the challenging part. Because with management, we hired, for example, our head of buying and merchandising was ex-Mother Care, ex-Marks and Spencer, ex-Devon House. So it took us a while to find that person to be able to help us source the product. We had, in my memory, I think 30,000 SKUs, 36,000 different items in Baroue on opening day. So we had to source 36,000 different kind of products. Again, this is retail, so it's mostly fashion and toys, so it took a long time to find that. So we had to get the right team. And we had 17 people dedicated for 2 years pre-opening, finding all these products for us. But then we had the logistics, so hiring the logistics person, that was a nightmare. He was a good person, but as I remember telling you guys earlier, the plan we put in place by the consultants regarding the logistics for our business, that was one of the biggest mistakes we've done. The most expensive mistake till date. was the logistics that we had set up. We initially set up our logistics center in Dubai, for example, rather than Kuwait. So we had the hassle of going through customs twice, once going into Dubai, then once again coming into Kuwait. The time that it took to go back and forth for the product was ridiculous. But that was a mistake because Dubai we were using as a hub. We were to open up in different GCC countries during the first 2 years of operation, which we did not do. So we actually moved everything back to Kuwait. But the right logistics director at that stage, based on the experience we got, the guy had over 25 years of experience from a big retailer in England, should have known better. It took us 2 years and a lot of money to know of his mistakes, but we trusted him based on his expertise. So sometimes you need to take the leap of faith and trust the people you hire, but you need to always be not controlling them, but you need to understand what they're doing. In the beginning you won't, but initially you won't, but after a few months you'll get into it and you'll understand whether these people are a cost to your business or they're actually an improvement to your business. But if they're a cost to your business, you need to get rid of them. And it should be a very easy decision. ما حد يقطع رزق أحد بس بالنهاية you're running a business.
Sorry. Thank you so much to both panelists. My name's Angela. I've actually just arrived in Kuwait with my business, so it's really inspiring to hear how entrepreneurship is done here. My particular question is for Noor. You made a conscious effort to make SaveCo very much a Kuwaiti brand and to put your message across to your customers in a Kuwaiti voice, and I think that's absolutely fantastic. I wondered if you had any advice for a UK company coming to Kuwait as to how to make what we're doing very much Kuwaiti focused to attract to attract business from this market.
We actually work very closely with the UK Embassy and the KBBC.
Oh, that's where we're working.
Yeah,
Martin, yeah.
with Martin, right? Yeah. We work very closely with them to develop UK brands within Kuwait. And when it comes to UK brands specifically and US brands, Kuwaitis like them more than local brands. So you shouldn't be worried if it's a UK brand. Tesco, for instance, when we first partnership with Tesco, we didn't have to make it Kuwaiti. We just put the British flag up, and people came running for it.
Excellent. Great advice, thanks.
My question is from Mr. Mutawa. What was your very few steps to protect your idea once you started? From getting stolen, your trademark, or
with the trademarks and the Baroue brand and the logos, we actually had everything protected. So not only in the Gulf, but also in the EU and the US. And within 2 months of opening, a nursery, if my memory is correct, Sabah Salim opened up with the Baroue name and the Baroue faces and the Baroue colors. And people thought it was our nursery, but it wasn't. Because of the strong marketing that we did, this entrepreneur wanted to capitalize on it and he called his nursery Baroue. But our lawyers were quick to act and that was dealt with. And another issue happened. There's another retailer, without mentioning names, today. They also sell some children's product and they decided to indirectly copycat the entire brand. They don't have the same name, but they write it in the same way, they use the same color patterns, they use the exact same faces. And I've actually had 3 meetings with this gentleman last year. And I offered him space in Baroue. I told him, you're more than welcome to sell your product here. But you cannot take our brand and, change a few things and call it your own. We actually invested a lot of money, now it's in the courts, so. You could do what you can, but there's only so much you could do to protect it. But we did copyright it and registered it all around the world.
Thank you.
Hi, I have a question to both of you. First of all, thank you for tonight. My first question would be, what would you recommend for a first-time business owner, a first-time entrepreneur? Do you recommend going big with your ideas, or starting off small and testing and then slowly expanding?
You're asking the wrong person. I'd always say go big. And if you go big, you make an impact, but you need the cash flow for it. And the bigger the business is, the bigger the risk. But in the end, if it succeeds, the profits are amazing.
We obviously, when we did Baroue, we started big. Now, if I had the choice to start off small, learn from the mistakes, and then grow it, I would do that. But the concept didn't come in small. The concept was big. So, but it was a choice to actually start small and then grow, because the mistakes the financial burden from the mistakes you do when you go big are tremendous. And if there was an opportunity, you're still going to lose money, but you can lose less money in the beginning. Understand the mistakes, understand the logistical concerns, the buying patterns, the customer needs and wants, and then take that for a couple of years, and then you can go big. But you'll have a stronger base to go big. But some concepts, there's no way to go small then big. So if you can start small, I'd do that. And learn from these mistakes. Everybody will make mistakes. Learn from them.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Of course.
A follow-up question to that would be, how do you, if you don't have the financial backup to go big, and say you do have ideas to get the money for that idea, how do you protect yourself from the losses? Because if you do go big, like you said, you could lose a lot, or should you just risk it and try?
It all depends on your background, your expertise, and your experience in this field. And the capital required, if you have business partners that will come in, everybody that comes in to invest in your business needs to know it's not it's my idea, it's a business. You go up, go down. There's no exact science in it. There's a lot of unknowns in business. So you can be either very successful or you can fail. And to get the capital required to do something big, the capital is always available in Kuwait, in the market in general. They have the right idea and they believe in your concept as investors. But you should be careful about the investors you bring in. If you're going to bring an investor that's going to come and tell you lost my money, that's not the right kind of investor. You need an investor that understands entrepreneurship, as an angel investor, invest in startups, so he's willing to take the risk. He's coming in at a low premium today for potentially a successful business tomorrow. But there's no way you can guarantee a successful business tomorrow.
So the question is for both of you. How do you keep up with the rivals? Like Baroue, how do you keep up with, let's say, Qatami? I know it's a different concept, but it's a competitor.
Just regarding Qatami, although it is a competition because it plays in the same field, but since Qatami opened, it never affected our sales at all. As Qatami, other retailers within the avenues have affected our business now. But the only way you can compete, competition is good. It keeps you healthy, it keeps you on your feet, makes you think. You need to understand what you're doing wrong. Why is somebody going through competition before you? Is he getting the toys before you? Does he have the toys that came up in the newest movie and you haven't received it yet? Why didn't you receive it? These are the things that makes it better for your customers. And they come in for the experience, for the product. If they're going to your competition, it's because you don't have the right product, or you don't have the right setup, or it doesn't look as good in your store as it does over there, or they have a problem finding it. But competition is good. You always have to compete. It's impossible to have something about a competition, but you always need to be aware of your competition, understand the price differences you have between yourself and them, understand what products are they selling and what products are you selling. Are they the exact same? You need to understand everything from that respect. But there's no way to do that. There's no competition. It's always better for the consumer that way.
If you're afraid from competition, you shouldn't be in business. Because there's always going to be someone that imitates you. If it's a successful business, someone's going to imitate you. They're going to copy you. In his case, the faces, the nursery. That's the first, in my opinion. Oh yeah. In our case, every time we came up with something new, one of our competitors would imitate us, including Instagram. Anytime we did a new post, they would do the same exact thing. But it's flattering though, because if they're copying it, it means you're doing something really good. And you should keep on innovating it. Innovation, I think, is a differentiating factor in any business.
I have a question for Noor. Given that the majority of your products are perishable, what do you do with waste or things that are close to expiry?
We don't have a choice. In Kuwait law, if it expires, you have to destruct it. But in order for us to keep an eye on it, what we do is we dedicate every aisle to 2 people, morning shift and night shift, and they have to check the whole aisle every day. Or let's say if they check it today, they would write that this item is supposed to expire next month or the month after. And we try to remove everything when it's 2 months before and put it into the closest to expiry section. We reduce the prices, or we try to wholesale them.
So my question is, you've spoken about the disadvantages of operating in the Kuwaiti market, which is bureaucracy, but what are the advantages to operating in the Kuwaiti market? And that's a question for both of you. And the second question is, what trends do you see that you like right now, whether it's in your industries or other industries?
The advantage would be it's your community. You're doing something to benefit your own community, especially that we're Kuwaiti. You're doing something for Kuwait. You're giving a job opportunity for people. You're bringing better prices. You're giving the customers more options for products that they have. For the trend, the issue with the economy in Kuwait right now, things are a bit unstable. So we'd have to wait and see for the next few months. Inshallah, things would stabilize. But other than that, it's a lot of people told me your concept should be in Dubai, shouldn't be in Kuwait, should be in Saudi Arabia. People would appreciate it more. But it wouldn't be the same though, because this is our community. It's different. When you hear from someone that knows you, they're going to tell you the truth. If it's not good, they would say it's not good, change this. But if it's in another country, they wouldn't relate to it as much. I think this should be the launching platform before going to the rest of the GCC.
I think the main advantage of operating in Kuwait, it's not really a good thing, but it is an advantage from a retail perspective. The majority of the employees are employed by the government, the working force in Kuwait. And their salaries do not get affected or fluctuated by financial conditions of the country or the market conditions of the stock market. So the purchase power remains strong, especially in the field that we're operating in. We're not selling cars, we're selling fashion, things that are affordable on a day-to-day basis. So in other markets, you see major drastic changes. For example, a recession in the UK or Europe or the US, we never had that recession here. And the sales were never affected in 2008 or onwards, and it's not affected today. It could get affected from competition, but not from the economic conditions of the country. So that's one of the advantages in operating a retail concept in this country. The purchase power of the Kuwaiti consumer is quite high, and remain one of the highest in the world.
The trends that we like.
The trend is, I think the government is doing something quite unique in that they are attempting to build new developments, whether it's the Bobian Islands or these infrastructure projects. But I remember reading about Harrier City 10 years ago. So it's a nice thing to hear about, but we'd like to see some implementation.
Shukran Sadaqah for the invitation. I'm not an entrepreneur yet. I'm an educator. I teach in Kuwait University. I'm currently in charge of an entrepreneurship unit that is supposed to be built or established to help establishing the new generation of entrepreneurs, since it's something that's really major and it's growing now in Kuwait.
In the College of Business Administration, Kuwait University, we have 3 courses. 2 currently taught and 1 will come in the pipeline. We teach entrepreneurship from the perspective of management, marketing, and finance/accounting. So I want to hear from you. How can we develop our processes? How can we develop better curriculum to help the entrepreneurs in the future? Most of the entrepreneurs at Kuwait, they came from business school or engineering school. So we want to help them. What did you think? Oh, I wish they taught me that in college, for example. How can we improve the education for the sake of making entrepreneurs more successful? Or we're not going to protect them from failure, but definitely we want to make them armed when they face reality. Thank you.
When I was in Bentley University in Boston, one of the classes we had that I still remember was a management class. One of the things that we had to do is come up with an idea and actually implement it. So we came up with the idea with me and my team, cleaning dorms. So in US dorms, the kids there usually have a lot of parties. The rooms are trashed within the day, every single day. We had to go clean the rooms, time how long it takes to clean the room, clean the bathroom, time how long it takes to do that, and actually do the labor work into it. And then we had to see how much it cost us when it came to the usage of the cleaning supplies, whether it's a broom or whether it's we had to put it down into an accounting structure, do our forecast, do our SWOT analysis and everything, and actually treat it as if we did a business. And then we had to go around and ask people to buy our services. And we did that for a whole semester. So it taught us, it gave us a feel of how to start a business. I'm not sure how many students
we're doing that already.
I would suggest also having the students potentially interview certain entrepreneurs or do something here with Sardab. Actually come and listen to some of the entrepreneurs and learn from their mistakes and have them maybe they do something here where they could understand that it's not all glamour. Let's be realistic. Yes, it's great once you're successful, but it is a learning curve and not everybody has the appetite for it. I'm not trying to discourage, but they need to understand that it's not easy, but it's worth pursuing. And the best way to get that message is for them to talk to people that have been through this process before and learn from their mistakes, maybe get excited by what they're doing. Hopefully not discouraged, but I would suggest doing something more in that line. And of course, doing actual projects rather than lessons. And for them to come up with an initiative and have a panel and say, eventually having somebody invest in that project. So that's what they did in the US as well.
Thank you for our panelists. This was a great session about here. My name is Nasser. Just have two questions for Noor AlQatami and how do you develop your team and how do you operate with your team? And second question, how about Kuwaiti's employee? It's in your organization. How do you develop them and it's their continue working because most of them they work in governments in Kuwait, so they are about 90. How do you develop and motivate them to keep them in the private sector?
It's not easy. Kuwaitis, to retain them, it's not easy. My sister being one of them, and I've tried to retain her as an employee, was extremely difficult because they have amana, they have, or let's say, it's better to have that amana for them, but if they're not within the company, they can just go to the government and work for a really good salary and do practically half the work and half the time as well. But what we did is, or our philosophy in SaveCo is that we have a SaveCo family. So our employees are not treated mostly as employees, they're treated as one family. if something is wrong with one part of the family, you know, the others have to pick it up. It's the same as how a body functions. If there's something wrong with your ears and they hurt, you know, the rest of your body won't function perfectly. So there has to be synergy, you know, between the employees. You have to make everyone feel happy and comfortable. And making that to Kuwaitis is difficult, but we do have Kuwaiti employees that are really happy and are working overtime without us asking them to do that.
We too also have Kuwaiti employees, but the unfortunate reality about the Kuwaiti employees is that they don't want to work. They want to come in and do pretty much nothing. They want the amala, they want their salary, and they're not willing to give 100%. That's been our experience with a lot of them. We have some very great ones, but unfortunately the majority are, they want to sit and they want to get paid a very high salary and they want to do pretty much nothing. So we've had very bad experience in employing Kuwaitis. In the management, it's so much easier because you're looking for these positions. But you know, we have positions in the store and we have tried over the past 9 years and we've always faced the same issue. Always the same issue. They don't want to do the job. And from a business perspective, why would you want to pay X amount for somebody that doesn't want to do the job when you can pay Y to somebody at much less income bracket that's willing to give 1,000% rather than 100% if you're giving them the right work environment? But it's not a problem from the business owners and not wanting to employ the Kuwaitis. The problem is the Kuwaitis themselves are not willing to give 100% to maintain these jobs. I hope I answered your question.
Hi, I enjoyed this discussion today. I just wanted to ask, you touched upon the downtrend in the economy, and this is actually a two-part question for you both. Have you felt the belt tightening in the Kuwaiti market? And if you have, in both your businesses, have you reacted to it?
Most of our suppliers say their sales have dropped in all of the market.
GCC?
And no, Kuwait.
Worldwide?
No, Kuwait. Specifically Kuwait. Our big suppliers, I'm not talking about the small ones, but the ones with the major brands in Kuwait. They're saying that their sales dropped in throughout Kuwait, and not just the supermarket industry, but also within the convenience stores, within the shopping shops as well. Their sales have dropped. I'm just assuming people are a bit afraid and they're trying to hold on to their money.
You're not going to take it one step further and see if people are belt tightening only on the luxury brands versus the, I guess, the basic necessities?
These are basic necessities. Yeah, the suppliers I'm talking about have basic necessities. So maybe people, or Kuwaitis in general, when they buy from supermarkets or from these specific suppliers, they usually buy in bulk. They buy a box. They don't buy a piece in Kuwait. So maybe they shifted and they started buying pieces. But for us, alhamdulillah, it hasn't affected us, but it has affected our suppliers a lot.
As I mentioned earlier, because the buying power, the bulk of our consumer, women of the Baroue store, are employees of the government and not affected by these financial conditions. They still get the same salary, they still have the same amount of kids, and they still want to treat them. They want to buy them toys, they need to buy them clothes. So it's for Kuwait standards, not for class standards, quite recession-proof in that respect. So we don't sell luxury items, but we do sell toys. And it's very difficult to say about the future.
Alright, perfect. I'd like to thank both of you guys for helping out in our community, and inshallah, shukrum more new year.